What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you can follow along, my name is Eric Gutierrez, and I dedicate my channel to fixing my motorcycle right here, 2009 Harley-Davidson Softail Deluxe. In today's video, I'm gonna be discussing about right there. You can see here my wheel bearing kind of fell on me. I just went kaboom. I got a few ball bearings in there. So this video, I'm gonna be replacing that, which involves removing the rear wheel. I'm gonna be taking all this apart, take it out, and be pushing in a new bearing inside there, and as well as inspecting on the other side, which by the looks of it, just like I told you up, it's a little dirty right now. That sprocket used to be nice and gold, but now it's it's a bit dirty. You see here in the swing arm as well. Back in the shop, I secured the bike up on my lift right here. So next thing to do now, I'm gonna be removing the belt deflectors and the belt guard, which is these two. So basically you're gonna want to remove these. So now that I got the belt deflector and the belt guards removed, now I'm gonna come on this side. Now I'm gonna be removing this this little C clamp right here, little C clip. I'm removing this one right here, as well as this brake caliper that's right there. And you may not need to remove your exhaust. I removed the baffles itself, just so I have more room around here. They don't want to be too cramped up. You may not need to do this, but I removed just the baffles itself along with the bracket that comes up here, and I also moved the brake caliper to the side. As you can see here, this is actually a great opportunity to check out your brake pads, see how they are. Mine is still pretty good so far, so I'm just gonna scoot them to the side. My bad. So now I got these removed. They're not completely 100% removed. I just backed them out about 20 revolutions. That's my count. That's the way I'm gonna go about it. 20 revolutions on each side of the bolt, or turns, however you want to call it. But that's gonna be my way of measurement also. So it's up to you guys if you guys do the same strategy or not. But that's essentially what I'm gonna be doing. So now that I got this removed, and as you can see here, I jacked up the rear wheel already, and you can see here the whole axle, it's all loose now. So essentially I pushed all the way forward, as you can see here, and basically now I'm gonna walk the belt out to remove it, like so. Now that this is now free and out and about, now I can go ahead and continue to remove the axle. So next thing I'm doing, I'm going to drop the bike down low again, up until the rear wheel is touching the ground. So that way, once I get everything removed, I'm going to essentially jack the whole bike up, and basically up until I got enough clearance to remove the wheel. Pulling out the whole axle rod, bolt, and slowly go like that. Remember the order came out, put it back in the same way. Alright, now that I have the tire a bit lower now, I'm slowly jack it up. Right about there. So now, just try to bring it down. There goes a spacer. Look at that. Damn, hella jacked up with the bearing, huh? There it goes. So now my wheel is completely free. I'm gonna hold it up. So now that's out of the way, come over here. So now we're gonna assess damage. See here, the ball bearings all jacked up. Look at that. So now basically my bearing went kaboom. This is basically your axle. You flip it around, inspect the other bearing in case that one went bad as also. And got a little divot right here. Could be that it's also damaged. Actually it is. You can see a little dent right there. So basically pulling off this bearing and replacing both of them. So now with the bearings pulled out, this one, since I already raised, I couldn't really take it on my own, so I ended up taking it here to a local shop for them to pull it out. So essentially, you know, that's that. And I also went ahead and removed these bearings on this side of the pulley side. My setup, for my wheel setup, I had two bearings in here in the hub, whereas where you guys, you know, it may depend. You guys had this one on each side, but mine, how I have set up from DNA wheels, they came in with two bearings for the pulley side. So basically I pulled them out, and to do that essentially you just want to bang them out with like a punch or something, or like steel bar, and basically just put it in from the other side and just hit it all along the race of the bearing, and dust will come out. And once you guys do that, be sure to clean up the inside of the hubs. When to clean them up, make sure there's no rust or grease or any of that left over, and just want to clean it up. So before you want to install your bearings, you want to grease up the hub. So just put some grease inside the hub, as well as want to put some grease on the outer ring of the the race, the outer race of your bearing. So essentially just want to put some grease on it, and it's on the outer race, and you want to set it in here. And there's multiple ways you can go about it. You could put a press on it, or put a bearing installer, which is basically like a ring outside. You could do a big enough socket that fits the outer ring. You don't really want to mess up the inner ring, the inner race. You don't want to mess with it. So with that being said, I'm gonna install the bearing right now. Make sure to keep it centered when installing it. So now that you got your bearing installed, you want to make sure it's all the way in seated. So once it's gonna have like a different type of sound once you start finish banging on it. Once you're done, you want to clean up the remaining grease. Just do a little wipe down. Yeah. So essentially, once I flip on the other side, if your wheel has one of these crush spacers, washers, no, not washer I'd say, but like one of these crush tubes, these essentially go inside your hub, your wheel. So before you put both bearings on both sides, you want to make sure you have this inside, because both bearings are installed now. Both sides, make sure they all fit good, nice and even. Give them a little test if they spin or not. They should be good. Now I got the bearings installed, everything now good to go. I have it here set on the bike. As you can see here, I kind of lifted up the bike a bit. So next thing I'm gonna do is start dropping the jack slowly down to lower to the ground. I mean, not to the ground of course, but up until everything's aligned, to which I will now just put the axle bolt on there. Remember guys, if you guys are going to be installing this, remember to clean it up and put some new grease on it. So you want it nice and greased up, so put grease on it and then put it in the same way it came out. So bolt side to the belt side to the left side is how mine was, so I'm putting exactly how it was, and with the axle nut being on the right side, which is the exhaust side. One thing I want to add before you add your axle bolt in, make sure you put some grease on it. You want it nice and greased up, as well as grease up the inner workings of it, so like the bearings and all that. Grease up the inner race of the bearing as well. Get some in there as much as you can, and just pop it into the side. Remember guys, don't forget your spacers, as they are very important. Make sure you mark them on each side, you remember which side is which, and you should be good. So now with the axle back into its place, basically you want to check around, move stuff around, make sure everything is sturdy, secure. This nut here isn't completely tight, it's just hand tying, just a little, like maybe like 4 twists with a wrench. But you don't want to tighten it, not yet, you know, not exactly, but essentially you just want to spin it here around, and here around here, if there's anything, you know, routing or scraping on, if it is, you know, go check it out. So now that you verify that everything's spins smoothly, you want to come to the belt side. To install this belt, you could choose start from the bottom on top. My preference is just starting on top, and now you just want to basically just walk it in just like that. That should be good to go. So now with all this, now you want to push it back and adjust your bolts, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So make sure they're back and lined up, and your measurements, if you took measurements, everything like that, or if you went by how many times you spin the bolt, that also works. Alright, whatever works for you, or whatever way you took the part, put it back together in the same order. So now I got everything back on. All the adjustments are good so far. I installed the brake caliper. Remember, when you guys install the brake caliper, make sure everything goes in smoothly. You don't want to be forcing anything, make sure everything's running in smoothly. Once you install these 2 bolts in, make sure to add Loctite on them and torque it down to spec. For my model, my year, it calls for anywhere between 10 to 14 foot-pounds. So torque these down, it should be good to go. So now I'll be torquing down my axle bolt. My book calls for 105 foot-pounds of torque. So here goes, torquing it down now. Don't want to forget your little C clip, your little E clip, whatever you guys want to call it. Basically straightforward, just pop this little guy in place. That's it. I just started my baffles, my bracket, everything's tightened down now. So I'm going to the other side to do my belt deflectors. Alright, so now on the belt deflector side, before you install them, you're gonna make sure you got the right amount of slack in your belt. You want to make sure it's up to spec, as well as your tensioner is good to go. You want to make sure all that's dialed in correctly. So once you got all that figured out, you can now put your belt deflector on and pretty much done with the project. Test driving next, so fun.